Welcome to the Lighthome Sustainable Design podcast series. We talk with the architects and builders about green design and homes that really suit the way we love to live. I'm Amanda Faulkner and welcome to Lighthome. Today I'm talking to Dallas Brown, who's the director of a Taree-based building company, BHI Building, and they've submitted a project that they've built and has been designed by Synergy Design, but it's a little bit outside of the ordinary because it's not just a home for one couple, it's one home for three couples. So Dallas, tell me how all of that came about. What was the brief?
Thanks, Amanda. The three couples came from Sydney. They've been long-time friends. They're sort of late middle-aged couples. I guess looking towards retirement, they wanted to move into our area and decided that cohabitation might work. So they trialled it in Sydney in a rented house and got on quite well. So decided they'd take it further and build a home suitable for the three couples up here. So the design is basically three double bedrooms with sitting room come study attached and en suites, and a shared living, kitchen, dining area. It's over 2 levels. There's an entertainment area downstairs as well. And so far they've been in the house for over a year now and it seems to be working quite well. They do travel a lot, so I guess they also wanted to have the convenience of someone at home to look after the house when the other couples are away. So it seems to be working quite well.
And it sounds like a design that's got, space enough for people to share socially together, but also get away from each other when they need to.
Yeah. So the individual areas are like a small home in themselves, I guess. Maybe 100 square metres per couple, where they've got a private balcony. Each one, it's a very good design. Each balcony gets some sun during the day, and yet they don't get vision of the other two areas, couples areas. So they've all got their own private little balcony, large bedroom, ensuite, and as I said, study area. But then they're shared. They don't seem to want to escape too much other than into their own little rooms. They share a large living area, and there's a TV room downstairs and three, of course, garages, and it works quite well for them.
And so was cost a consideration in, trying to do it this way, or, because I'm assuming... Sorry.
Sorry. I think it was. They at that stage decided that, they basically live in a beautiful, huge home, but the outlay is probably a bit over 150,000 each. It's a cheap price to pay to live in a huge home, so that was a consideration, yeah.
And was there did they have a desire to make it a particularly sustainable home? And in fact, how sustainable is it? What are some of the features in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. They're passionate about that. The design itself has got some pretty good passive solar elements to it, so it is oriented as well as possible on a south-facing block, on a steep block. So it was a challenge to the designer. So he was able to, with highlight windows, to capture some of the warmth and sunlight from the north in the winter. But yeah, look, we looked into sustainable products, and that's why we've gone with the lightweight rather than products that contain high levels of embodied energy. So some recycled, reused materials in it, in some hardwood timber and stuff like that. We sourced local hardwood, which is renewable from regrowth forests in the area, rather than imported hardwood for decking and some of the framing timber. So they were very passionate. They've installed solar PV cells on the roof to capture their own, produce their own energy. So they've the rainwater tank that we installed is larger than what was required by BASIX. So yeah, they were sort of fairly passionate about that all the way along.
And did that desire for sustainability, I mean, I understand that it was, a more cost-effective build because it was really, I guess, three homes in one and not duplicating a whole lot of things that you would if you had to go and build three individual homes. But, I mean, did incorporating some of those sustainability elements add a lot to the cost?
No, look, it's always the case when we consult with clients. It's like, how far do you want to go? So we could have spent a lot more. We could have done a lot more, but but on their fairly limited budget, we did as much as we could. So I guess, yeah, look, they could have put in a slightly smaller water tank. They could have, we could have used some cheaper imported products, these sort of things. But generally, yeah, no, we didn't have to go overboard with cost. The house wouldn't have been built much cheaper if we had have not looked at the sustainability. Yeah.
Fair enough. And does the fact that it's been built using passive solar design principles, albeit that I guess there sounds like there was probably a limitation in terms of orientation and that it perhaps had to face south. But even so, does it use mechanical cooling and heating, or does it get away with not having to do that through?
No, we the breeze paths, the airflow through the house is great in the summer. It's in an area that does get a fair bit of breeze. We've installed a slow combustion wood fire, which is ideal up here. There's no shortage of firewood, and I don't even know if they use that often through the winter. It's well insulated. The original design had a suspended concrete slab for the floor, but that was one of the cost considerations where we went with a suspended framed floor, but added extra insulation, and so that's still efficient. And we sort of lean a bit more towards the frame structure because there's a little bit less embodied energy in the materials, and probably think of that as a bit more sustainable. So, but yeah, look, it's a very comfortable house to live in, and the insulation. Some of the glass was upped a little bit from spec, but not double glazed or anything by that means. Yeah.
And in terms of building on the slope, how steep was the slope to build on?
Yeah, well, the house footprint, the footprint of the house has about a 3 metre fall over it, so it goes basically from ground level at one corner to having the garage under it at the other corner. So it's basically 2-storey at one end, and the garage is cut into the slope. The people purchased the block from someone who had intended to build, and they put a large cutty area in, I think, to build a 2-storey house on it. And John, the designer, worked around that. They basically wanted to fit that existing excavation. Yeah, so.
Yeah. Yeah. And presumably, given that degree of slope, it's not something that you would have as cost effectively done if you'd built all in masonry, for argument's sake. I mean, I guess that's where the lightweight subfloor and also timber framing would have been ideal.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a steel frame up to floor level, and that was cost effective. You can get bigger spans with a steel frame, so there was less sort of impact on the ground, less footings and that. So definitely, and the airflow is also a good factor as well. So yeah, there's a lot of factors why we went suspended like that rather than masonry, for sure, and lightweight.
And did you use ordinary steel, or did you use something like light steel beam for the subfloor?
No, we just used the normal C sections, steel sections. We didn't RHS sections for posts and normal lightweight C sections for joists.
Yeah.
And then that was insulated and then battened on top of that with timber battens to lay the floor on. So that then allowed us to get the step down into the wet areas efficiently too. So there's a good flow through all the areas where timber floor is running into wet areas at the same levels, and it worked well.
And if you had to, take a guess, a price on the back of the fag pack, if you like, if you'd had to do the subfloor with, say, masonry piers and then do that suspended concrete slab, how much extra would it have cost to have built it that way, do you think?
Yeah, we did I did the costing at the time, and it's going back a little bit. I haven't got the figures in front of me, but I think it was possibly around about the $20,000 mark extra. Yeah, so it was a worthwhile saving.
And you used a range of lightweight materials, not just in the framing but also in the cladding, because you used the Scion Axon on some of the exterior, and also used the Scion Secura interior flooring in wet areas. So, how were they to use? What was your experience of that?
Yeah, look, the Axon went up really quickly, and it's a kind of a classy finish with the groove in it. It sort of lifted that area from just a flat kind of finish. The trims for corners and finishing is quick and convenient too. So as you'd be aware, like labour's a big factor, so the ease of installation is always a consideration in any sort of materials that we install. The tongue and groove in the wet area flooring speeds that up hugely from the old days of just the compressed flooring,
Yeah.
So that definitely speeds it up a lot, and it's a softer product, easier to work with, and yet you still get the same sort of durability out of it. So yeah, that's a great product as well. And we used some for cladding. We did use some just flat hardy flex.
Mm.
So and that with battens is become a modern look again.
Yes.
People all wanted to get out of the fibro houses years ago, and now we're sort of going back to it, and it's a more appealing look. So
Exactly.
yeah, the mix of elements, we do a lot of that, and it is a trend at the moment, and it's a popular trend, and it certainly does make the house more interesting.
And it's a cost-effective trend too, isn't it?
Sure. And in that area, they some of the other cladding was just plain zinc-aluminum, corrugated zinc-aluminum, and cheaper than Colorbond, and for a wall, it's quite durable.
Mm.
So it's got a real country feel about it. The house, we incorporated some timber weatherboards as well, which were locally sourced. So that sort of mix of the earthy country rural look really blends in with the. It's on a small acreage block, so it really blends in with the acreage in the area, the rural area.
Okay. Anything else that you think we should know about this project?
Well, it's just as you can imagine, there was a lot of talk in the area when three couples decided to build.
I bet.
And there was, it was a small town talk about all sorts of things about, the possible reasons for that. But they're lovely people. But it's sort of, and I was curious myself we were given the opportunity to tender. But it's just a really good idea. I think it's maybe it's something that a lot more people should look at for the future. Basically, a small scale retirement home. You choose who you want to live with, and yet you've got the benefit of your friends nearby to look after you as you age. I expect they intend to live there for the rest of their lives, and have that sort of help and care from your friends rather than from strangers in an area where you choose to live in a house that you've designed. I think it has got a lot going for it, rather than people just considering moving into some bland retirement home. So I'd like to see a lot more people, and we'd certainly like to have the opportunity to build something like it again. Yeah.
All right, very good. Well, thank you very much, Dallas, for sharing that project with us.
Thanks, Amanda.